The WordPress dashboard has a lot of options, but it isn't always the ideal place to allow contributors or clients to add or edit their content. This is where the ability to build your own custom front-end dashboard can really help. In this video, I'll show you how to start using the powerful profile builder tools in JetEngine. Now, don't let the name fool you though. This isn't just a set of tools to allow your users to edit their profiles. No. You can pretty much build any kind of sophisticated custom front-end dashboard with all manner of super useful features. So I'm going to split this guide into two separate parts. Part 1 will show you how to use the built-in features through using the import options to kind of get a quick head start on building our custom dashboard. In part 2 though, we'll be expanding upon what I've covered in the first part by creating our own custom post type and then building an easy way to manage the content in our new custom dashboard. But before we start building, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Paul C from WPTuts, and I've teamed up with Crocoblock to create a series of tutorials on using dynamic Jet plugins like JetEngine and Jet Smart Filters. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's just get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is actually activate the features that we want. Now for the profile builder, we have to have the profile builder enabled and the forms option enabled. This allows us then to create that front end form option where we can do things like edit posts, content, user profile things, all those kinds of things. To do that, really easy. Come down to the JetEngine option and just open up JetEngine. Inside there, you have modules. Now modules gives us access to all of the extra great features we have available as part of JetEngine. And as you can see, there are quite a lot. Like I say, what we want is forms, so we'll just enable that. We'll scroll down and we'll also say that we want to enable the profile builder. Hit save, and that will then activate those options for us. Once they're activated, we then have more options available. So if we come back over to the Jet option area, you can see we now have profile builder and forms inside there. If we go back up to the top, we come into the skins manager option and we've got presets. Let's open that up. And because we've enabled the profile builder, we can also enable these quick starts. So things like user profile with editable content and editable user settings page for user profile. We can import some pre-designed, pre-set up pages, templates, those kinds of things. This just speeds up the process of working, and that's what we're going to do in this video. However, just be aware that you don't need to do this. You can manually create everything you want. This is just a quick start. So let's go ahead and import. So we'll choose the first option, and you can see this is a preset that's going to set up an accounts page with 3 subsections. The main, which will show us all the posts we have, the edit post and new post. We can change any other options we want. You can see we also need to finalize the process by going to the permalink settings and resave the permalinks. So let's just do that. Let's close that option down. Head over to our settings option, come into permalinks, and we'll just save it. Now you can see we've got post name set up, but you may have something different. You can set this to whatever common options you want. We're just gonna leave it as is and just say save changes. Head back over to JetEngine again. Go back into our skins manager, into presets, and this time we're going to choose the edit user settings page for user profile. Click on that. You can see this is now going to do that for us, and we'll click close. We don't need to do anything with the permalinks. Again, we only need to do that when we use a profile and editable content setup and we import those settings. So with that done, we've done the first part. We've enabled what we want, giving ourselves a bit of a quick start. So let's take a look at what's being created. If we head over to Elementor's templates and go into the Save Templates area, you'll see we've got 4 different sections: edit user, post, add post, and user post. So these are templates that have been set up that we can use. We can edit these and do what we want with them. We also come into the pages section. And if we come into pages and we've got all pages, we now have an account page inside there, which is kind of the home page now, where all of the different options we can do for our user account, adding new posts, those kinds of things. All that information is going to be situated inside the account page. Also, if we come down now and take a look inside the Jet into forms, we'll see there's 3 new forms being created: the edit user, edit post, and new post. Open up there and we'll see everything has been configured for us. Again, we can very easily come in and change any options we want inside here. So we can add extra fields in. We can link these through to custom fields that we set up inside JetEngine. There's a whole host of what you can do once you get the fundamentals in place. And that's what this video is all about, explaining those fundamentals so you can expand and grow what you want to do with these features. Now we've seen what's been created on the dashboard side of things. Let's take a look at the front end in our account section and see what's inside there. So we're going to hop over to the test site, and I've just logged into the account. This is just whatever your domain is, /account. So what we have is main, which is going to show us the listing of all the posts that are associated with my particular account when I'm logged in. I can add a new post if I want from here, and you can see we can put a post title, upload the featured image, put the content in, and that's what we currently have. But we can, like I say, add more to this should we want to. And we hop over to user settings. You can see inside here we've got our email address, the profile picture we want to use, the name, and about me. Now it's worth noting that the profile picture and the about me are unique JetEngine custom fields that have been associated with the user profiles. So let's hop back over to the dashboard and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Come back into JetEngine and let's go to our meta boxes option. And inside there you can see we've got user settings. This has been created by using that import option at the beginning. We open this up. We have two meta fields, the profile picture and the about me, just a media field and a text area field. If we come and take a look at my profile and scroll right the way down, you can see there's our custom meta fields, profile picture and about me. And we can tell these are to do with JetEngine because the styling is JetEngine styling. So those are custom fields that have been set up as part of JetEngine and associated with users. We can now, if we want to, set things up and manage the content that goes into this. And we can add more fields if we want to create a more feature-rich sort of user profile. You may be working with authors or contributors and you want to put more information like links to their own websites, bios, all those kinds of things. This gives you the ability to do just that. So let's go ahead and quickly test out these extra fields. So first of all, let's just do the profile picture. So we'll just choose a file and I'll choose my image and we'll say okay. And if I want to, I can put, there we go, let's let that upload. Put my name in, Paul C, and we'll just put in, this is all about me. Okay, we'll submit that. And that's now been saved to my account. Now it knows it's my account because it's set up to work with the logged in user. I'm logged in. I know it's going to associate with my account. So let's hop back out to my profile. We'll refresh this page and there we go. There's my profile picture that's been added in and the about me. Now the beauty of this is normally you have to link through with WordPress to use the Gravatar service, which is free, to get a profile picture. And this is sort of displayed throughout your site. However, by doing it this way, we could then use this instead and reference this throughout any custom designs that we may set up. And we don't have a reliance upon Gravatar anymore, which is something not everybody wants to use. So it's pretty cool we can do that. And like I say, really easy, all done with that simple wizard. So now we've seen how this kind of works. Let's take a look at some of the things we can do, how we can customize things. And then we'll also take a look at how we can create our own custom feature inside our new custom profile area. Okay, so this is where we are at the moment with the default setup. And as you can see, it doesn't necessarily look that great. It's picking up fonts from the theme that's being used, but we might want to customize this to make it a little bit more interesting. It's very easy. All these options are totally editable using the features you've come to understand and use and know when you're working with JetEngine. So listings and things along those lines. So let's deal with the way that this looks first of all, this listing of all of the different posts that we've got associated with my particular account. Heading back into the dashboard, we're going to come to the Jet menu and we're going to come into listings. And inside there, we've got the user post items. This is the list of, or this is the template for the list of our items. Exactly what we can see in each of these different sections. So what we need to do is edit this with Elementor. And once we load that into Elementor, and I'm using Elementor free, just so you know, none of these features are to do with the Pro version. This is all to do with Elementor free and JetEngine on its own. So you can see Pro is not installed because we've got a little padlock in the corners. So what we want to do is we can come down to the listing elements. And inside here, we've got all the different kinds of metadata we can pull in from JetEngine. We also have the profile menu and forms. Now, the reason I want to draw your attention to the profile menu is because if you remember back at the beginning of this video, I said you don't have to use the import method. You can, if you want to, create the entire account totally manually. Well, the profile menu would be what you would use to display the menu items as you can see. Again, hopping back to the front end, these are what I'm talking about. This is the menu setup. So you could insert that into your own templates, your own designs, and get as creative as you want to. We've done it. It's already been set up as part of that import process, but it's there should you need it. Okay. Let's make just a couple of tweaks to this to make it look a little bit more interesting, just to show you how easy it is to adjust the design. Let's make this a little larger so the image is a little bit more feature rich. So let's just select this section and we'll just set that to 25%. There we go. Let's change this font because it doesn't really kind of in keeping with what we want to do. So we'll just use the typography options and we'll adjust the size on there. I don't know, we'll take it something like 18, we'll set it to so-and-so, and we'll just set this to something like Montserrat. So it's a little bit cleaner. There we go. Okay, let's set it to 400. And 18 is perfectly fine. Okay, so we've got our edit post option. If we want to style this, we can do exactly that. So we can hover to the style and we can make this look more like a button as opposed to just a text link. Very easy to do. Just adjust our styling. So we're going to set our top and bottom styling, margins, padding I should say, to 5, and the left and right to 15, and we'll just set a background color of a solid color, and we'll just pick the primary color from here. Text color we'll just set to white, for example, and if you want to drop an icon in there, you can do that. And we can also adjust the alignment of that if we want to as well. So if we come back over to content, for example, we can adjust the alignment, pop that over to the right hand side. Really, really simple. Now, if we want to add extra information in here, because we've got the title and we've got the edit, but we may want to do things like check out the number of comments, the date that this was created, you know, a whole manner of different things. Well, we can just reference dynamic data. So let's come back out of this link and we're going to scroll down. I'm going to say, let's just drop in some dynamic meta, for example. We'll drop that underneath the title and you can see it's pulled in the date, the author and the comments. Now, we know who the author is because this is only showing the posts that's associated with my particular account. So we can remove the author from there. But what we can do now if we want to, we can put prefixes in. So we can say posted on, and we can also put comments, and we'll just say comments. I'll put a colon in there. And again, we can style all this. We can format the date if we're using the date setting. So we don't want to use that date setting. We can change it to whatever we want. So lots of different options. And you can see there's a link. We can specify what any of these links do, whether it's the archive, the post, or nothing. I'm not going to edit those. I'm just going to leave those as they are because everything is set up to work fine anyway. If we want to adjust the styling on there, we can do just that. So we can say, come into the items and we'll adjust the typography. We'll set that to be Montserrat as well. We'll set this to be something like 14 pixels. There we go, somewhere along those lines. And we'll set a weight to 400. And if we want to adjust things like padding and margins and so on, we can do all of that. So finally, we're just going to select this entire block and we're just going to put a little bit of spacing around it. So we'll go to advanced and we'll put a little bit more padding. So we'll say 10 pixels of padding around there. And we'll come to style and we'll go to border and we'll just put a little bit of a box shadow in there just so we can see some kind of separation. Now, like I say, I'm not trying to make this look really nice looking. I'm just showing you how easy it is to make these edits, to customize it totally. Come back over, we'll refresh this, and there you go. Now it just looks a little bit more in keeping to what we're trying to achieve. So you can edit this and do whatever you want with it. So that's how easy it is to edit those listings. The same kind of thing goes if you want to edit any of the templates. So we hop back out of this, and we'll just go into the template section. So we'll come back out of here, and we'll go into the templates, save templates, and let's just say we'll open up the edit post. We'll edit that with Elementor, and that'll open up Elementor, and then we can edit all the aspects of this. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but let's just select this block, and all we'll do is we'll just put a little bit of padding. So we'll say 30 pixels inside there, and we'll do the same again. We'll just put a bit of a drop shadow on this, just so you can very easily see exactly what's going on. Pump the blur up on there, and we'll just adjust that slightly and we'll hit update. Okay, so now we've seen how easy it is to customize these pages. We'll hop back over, we'll edit this post, and you can see there's our drop shadow effect. So it's really easy, and all the features we need are inside here. Well, most of them. Let's take a look at how we can add more. So at the moment, we've got the featured image, we've got the title, and we've got the content, but we don't have anything like the category it's going to go into or tags. So we need to add those in. Again, really easy to do. We'll hop back over, come back out of this, and we'll exit to our dashboard. So what we need to do now is we need to go back into the forms. And this is where we make those changes. So we'll open up the forms option, and we're editing a post at this point in time. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this. And there's all of the different fields we currently have. The post ID is hidden. That's the ID, the unique identifier for the post that we're currently editing. The thumbnail, featured image, post title, post content, and a save button. And you can see all these options underneath are pre-filled out. And then underneath that, we've got what happens when you click that submit button. We've got two actions to be carried out. First of all is to either insert or update the post data, the title, the content, and so on, and then redirect to a page. So if we click edit on any of these, let's take a look at the redirect to page, for example. And you can see we can now choose redirection, redirect to page, redirect to static page, select the page you want, the account page. In other words, it goes back to the account listing, which will show all of the different posts that we currently have. But you can set this to any of the different pages you've got created as part of your site. You can deal with the sequence, the process, however you want to do it to make it totally unique and customized. Okay, so now let's go ahead and insert the extra field that we want. So there's a couple of steps to this. First thing we need to do is add the field into the form itself. So we'll just click add field, and you can see that now adds a new field in. We can reorder this wherever we want, so we'll pop this above the save button. Obviously the save button needs to be the last item inside the form to make sense. And then we can just edit this. So we'll just choose to open this up, and now we can just fill out the details we need and tell it where we're going to get the info from, what information we want to put in, those kinds of things. So the first thing we want to do is tell it what field type it is. Currently it's set to default as text, but we want to change this for this example to be checkboxes. Because we want to allow someone to select multiple different categories to put their post into, checkboxes allows us to do exactly that. Next up, we're going to give this a name. We're going to call this category. Do the same for the label. We're just going to drop in exactly the same inside this. We'll drop category in there. If you want to put a description in, you can do. You can set this to be required. If it's an optional field, just uncheck that option. Then it says fill options from, and these kind of options you're going to see are going to be different based upon the different types of fields you're going to insert. So this one, checkboxes, we've got to get data from somewhere to create the list of checkboxes. So we have manual input, so you could manually input these if you want to and create whatever kind of checkboxes you want. However, what we want to do is we want to use terms. So terms is exactly what you can use for taxonomies. In other words, categories and tags. Or if you create custom taxonomies, you can reference those in the same way. So terms is what we choose. Then we choose what taxonomy. You can see we've got categories, tags, and a custom one called formats. We're going to choose categories. It says value from meta field. Well, we don't need to do anything inside there because it knows just pulling the term from the categories. It knows that. So with that in place, we can take a look. Is there anything else we need to do? Only thing I want to put in here is the field visibility. We're going to choose this to only for logged in users. So to get access to your dashboard, your account, you'd need to be logged in. But this is just an extra little step that gives you an extra level of security. And you can do this for all the different fields. So if someone did log in or someone did get access to this page because you hadn't set the security correctly, you could at least have it set up so no one can see any form fields they can edit. Okay, so we'll apply those changes, and it's important to apply those changes once you've made them. That kind of commits that to it. Okay, so now we've done that, we've got an extra field called category. So all we need to do now is tell it what we want to do with this. So category, select post property. We're going to select that, and we say this is a term. So we're going to choose that, and from there we've got categories, tags, and formats, exactly what we saw when we created the field. So we're going to say categories. So we've set those sides of things up. Now we need to tell it what to do and how to use it when we insert the data. So currently we've created the form element, but we haven't linked it to anything to do anything when we update or insert data. To do that, we're going to click the little edit, and then we're going to come down, and we've got exactly the same things here. You can see post ID, thumb, and so on, exactly the same as we can see there, which is pretty much exactly what you have in the form at the top. So what we need to do is simply do the same again. Post terms, choose categories, apply changes. We've now done everything we need inside here. So the final thing is to click update, and that now has created the link. It's also set up that when we update or create a new post item, that data will be inserted and saved alongside the new post, or if we're editing a post. So let's hop back over now to my account, and let's refresh this, and we should see our new entry. And there we go. There's our category, checkboxes, and you can see currently this is in hills and waves. So let's uncheck that and save. So now you can tell that the form has been saved successfully, and it's taken us back to the account page. Let's come back in and edit that again, and you can see waves is now gone. So we've created the link between the taxonomy and the post or edit post. So everything is set up in there, and it was really easy to add in. So you can do that over and over again. So you could say you wanted to add in tags, for example. Well, you could do the same thing inside there as well, using the method I've just shown you. Now we've seen how to use the import option to get a quick start setup, let's move on to building something a little more unique. Now there are a few important steps to go through to get everything set up the way that we need it to. If you find yourself getting confused at any point, well, feel free to rewind and rewatch anything you find confusing or just want to get a little bit of a refresh on. Okay, so let's get on now with building our custom post type. So now we've seen how we can easily import the key pages and key sections into our profile builder. Let's take a look at how we can create something of our own, where we don't rely upon the import process. So we're going to use JetEngine to create a custom post type. Then we're going to take a look at how we can add the front-end functionality into that custom post type. So first thing we need to do, go to JetEngine and we're going to come to our post types. Inside there, we're going to create a new custom post type. So we'll add new. And we'll give this a name. So let's just call this custom post type. We're going to call it album. We're going to use this just to create a really simple collection of music albums. Labels, we'll leave that as it is. Come into advanced settings and we just need to tweak a few things inside here. First of all, let's change the icon to something that's a bit more in keeping, make a bit more sense. And we're going to add the extra option in for the thumbnail or the featured image, just so we can use that then for the CD album artwork. We're going to leave that set up as it is, and we're going to just add in a couple of meta fields just to augment what we have. So the first one we're going to do, we're going to call this artist, and we'll use that for the album artist. And finally, we're just going to add one more field in, and we're just going to call this duration. And leave that as it is. And there we go. So we'll leave that as is, add our post type, and we've got our custom post type set up. Come over, you can see there's our listing. So we've got title and date. We can customize this to our heart's content if we want to, and JetEngine gives us a lot of control over how this works. But we're more interested today in how we can link this through to the front end and create the whole process. So next on our list is to create the form that allows us to actually input information from the front end. So let's come back into Jet and into forms, and we're going to add a new form in. So we'll say add new, and we'll just put new album. Okay, so you can see it automatically creates a couple of fields for us. We know we've got the post ID and we've got the submit button, and then we've got the basic send email action. We can edit all of these, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, so let's start by adding in the fields that we want to use to create and link through to our custom post type. So we'll add some fields in. So add the first field, we'll just reorder this underneath the post ID, and we can click to edit this. Now we can set up all the different options. So let's start with using the CD artwork. So let's change this from text, and we're going to set this to be media. Going to give this a field name. We're just going to call this underscore thumb. And the label we're going to give this is album. So we'll set this as required. User access, we're going to say to any registered user. And what is important is we need to ensure that we click the if checked new attachment be inserted for uploaded file. So we're going to click on that, and then we can say, what is the field value we want to use? So we're going to set this to be attachment ID. That now makes sure that when we upload a file, a media file, it will then insert it into the database, save everything, and it'll be available when we want to edit things and view things on the front end of the site. Next up, we can choose the number of files. Well, this example is just one, and you can set your maximum file size. Well, we say 5 megabytes for this example. And then you can choose what file types are allowed. So we're going to set these to all of the image types. And then once we've done that, we've got everything in place. We can click on apply changes. And we now have our first custom entry inside there. Now, before we go back and add all the extra fields, and let me show you how we now link this up to submit this data. So the first thing we need to do is come down to the post submit actions and change this send email. You can have this, you might want to notify the admin of the site there's been a new addition, and then they can go through and they can make sure they're happy with it, and you can set it from being pending, for example, or draft status to being something that is posted and actually available on the site. That's up to you. We're not going to worry too much about that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click to edit this. I'm going to change this now from type send mail. I'm going to say insert or update post. So we're going to select that option, and then we can see, right, what post type do you want to link this through to? We've created a custom post type. We'll open that up, and you can see there's our album. So we can choose that option. We can set the post status, which I was just mentioning. So we can say draft, pending review, private, and so on. And one thing that's great to see here is that keep current status. So if this is an update action, so someone's making a change to an existing post that's already been posted and published, you can keep that status if they come in and make a change. Obviously, if you wanted to change that to be pending review, if a change is made, you could do that here as well. So it's great to see we have options to keep the current status. That's pretty useful. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say this is, first of all, because it's a new post, we're going to say this is pending review. So it has to be reviewed by an actual admin of the site. Underneath that, we now have to map the fields to these field mapping areas. So you can see currently we've got post ID and thumb. This is your post ID and your thumbnail, and the submit button obviously isn't going to show up inside here. So all we need to do now is choose how we want to link these. So the post ID, you can see post ID, this will update post, but obviously there is no update. This is an insert option. This is adding a new item. So we're going to leave that select post property, leave it as it is. The thumb, we're going to set this to be post thumbnail. So now we can go through and add more options in. So let's do that. Let's just apply those changes first of all. So we've now committed that to our action, our post action. And now we can repeat this and add some extra fields in. So let's just add the rest of the default WordPress fields that we're using, which is going to be the title and the actual content itself. And then we'll add our custom fields in. So let's add 2 new fields in, reposition these where we need them. And we're going to come to the first one. Text is perfectly fine. And we're going to set the field name to _title. We'll drop a label in and we'll just call this album title, and then we can leave pretty much everything else except for, well, actually we can leave everything else if we want to. We'll apply changes on that and we'll do the third of the default fields, which is going to be the actual content. We'll change this from being plain text. We'll have the WYSIWYG editor, so there's a little bit of styling options inside there, and we're going to call this _post_content. We're just going to put in post content for the description on there. And we'll leave everything else as it is. So we'll apply those changes. So now we've set up the thumbnail, the title, and the post content. We now need to add in our 2 custom fields. So if we don't know or can't remember the names of those, we can hop back over to our custom post type. And inside there, you can see there's artist, and it's artist and duration. So that's the information that we need. So we're going to hop back in, add 2 new fields, position those where we want them. And let's just edit those like we've just seen. So text is perfectly fine. The field name is, we're going to call this our first custom field, which is artist. And we'll just put album artist as the description, or the label I should say. And we'll leave everything else there, apply those changes, and we'll do exactly the same then for our final one. So we'll edit this, text is fine, we'll leave that, and we're just going to call this duration. I'm going to call it album duration. There we go. So we've set those options up. Everything is where we want it to be. Now we just need to update our insert posts, and we're going to map those custom fields. So title is going to be post title, post content is going to be post content, artist is going to be custom or post meta, and inside there we can just drop in artist, and the duration is the same thing again, post meta, and we're going to call this duration. So we just basically linked everything up except for the post ID, because this is a new post. We'll take a look at editing a little later, but that's basically all we need to do. If we want to apply changes and add another notification, we can do that. So we can say, let's add a notification, send email as the default, and we can say, where's this going to go to? So the admin gets an email, that's fine. And reply to, well, we could set custom inside there if we wanted to have a reply. But we're just going to say, there's a new CD-album added for approval. And then you can drop in some information inside there, and you can see there's a pile of available macros, so we can put post ID, the thumbnail, the title, so we can easily build up an email inside here very quickly. And let's just quickly do that. Just say, hi admin, there's a new album awaiting your approval. And then what we can do underneath this, we can just say album title, and then we can just simply use the short code. So we can say, there's the title. We'll just grab that short code. We'll copy that from there and we'll pop that into there. So now we could just repeat this process to get everything set up the way that we wanted to, any information we wanted inside there. And then once we've done that, we can just save this. So I'll apply the notification, or the options we just set up on there. And now everything is basically set up for us. So now let's just quickly publish our form. And now we can go on to the next stage, which is to create the template that's going to house our form. And then we can look at adding that into the custom dashboard we're creating. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our saved templates. And inside there, we're going to add a new template. So add new, select, this is going to be a page. And we'll just give this a name of add album. Create our template, and then we can just add the form in. Okay, with Elementor open, let's just create what we need inside here. First thing you want to do is just add in 2 columns. And once we've done that, let's just adjust this ever so slightly. But they will do. Okay, so we need to add in 2 separate widgets. First of all, we need to have the navigation for our actual profile area, our custom account section. And then we need to put the form on the right-hand side. So let's come over to our widgets, scroll down until we get to the our JetEngine options, and inside there, first of all, we're going to grab the profile menu, drop that into the left-hand side. You can see that now just pulls in the basic info. We'll just change this to vertical, and I'm just going to apply the styling that we have. So I'm just going to paste my style inside there. So this is going to map out the same stylings we already have on this section. Okay, so with that being done, we've put in the navigation. As you can see, our new section is missing, and we'll rectify that in a couple of moments. What we need to do now is just put the form on this side. So we can just do a search for form, and we want the form option, which is the JetEngine one. You can tell by the color of the icon. We're going to drag and drop that over to the right column, select our form from there. So we're just going to say album, start typing that in, and you see there's new album. Add that, and we can see that's dropped in everything we need for our new form element. We can set anything up inside here that we want to. I'm going to change this submit type from reload to Ajax, but you can choose whichever option you prefer. And also you can go through and style this to make sure it looks exactly as you want, add padding and so on. So we say, let's add 30 pixels of padding, for example. So you'd style this as you saw fit. So let's publish this page, this template. And once we've done that, we can now add this in to our custom dashboard. So we need to add it into this section on the left-hand side, our navigation. Again, to do that is really easy. We'll come back out of Elementor, going to go to the JetEngine section and down into Profile Builder. Now this is where we can control a lot of aspects of the overall functionality of Profile Builder outside of the forms and so on that we build independently. We've got pages, account page, and advanced. You can see this is if we didn't want to use the default created account page, you wanted to use something different, you could set that up inside here, and all of your pages will show up inside here as well. By default, it's going to, if you use the import option, it's going to show the account section. We can add in user pages, single user pages, we can use the template mode. There's various different things we can do. One thing I would highly recommend you do is restrict admin area access. This will stop people getting into the normal default admin if they log in to their front end profile area to add content and so on. But if they know it's a WordPress site, which they will do, you don't want them to then just change it to WP-admin and then be able to have access to that. So this gives you the ability to disable that based upon user roles. So we can just say that only select roles can access this. It's up to you to set these to what you want, but we could set it to editor and so on and so forth. So you can select that and set it up how you want. Do you want to hide the admin bar? You can do that as well. So this will get rid of the bar you see at the top of the screen. So we'll save the changes on there. Hop over to the account page, and this is where we can now go in and easily add in extra pages or extra sub pages. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new sub page. We can set up then the title for this, who can have access to it, and so on. So you could still limit various different functions to different user roles, which is great to see. So let's just fill this out now. So the first thing we're going to do is give this a title, and we're just going to say add album. The slug, automatically pre-populated, but you can change that if you want to. The template is the Elementor template we've just created. So let's just start typing in album, and you can see there's our add album template. So then you can choose to hide this from the actual menu for the profile area. If you wanted to do that, you could do it. The link is still available, but we're going to leave that as is. And then we're going to leave this available to all user roles. So you can still choose exactly who has access, but we'll leave it as it is for now. Okay, so let's just save these options, and we should now have that new section added in, so we can add in our custom CDs and albums. Okay, so we're now into our account section, and you can see there's our new entry, add album. If we click, we'll go in and we can now fill out the relevant details for an album. So let's do that. Let's just add our first album and see how this all works. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and filled out the relevant details for ease. Let's just submit this. And there we go, form has now been successfully submitted. So now that's added that in and into our dashboard, but also it sent an email to the admin and set this to be pending review. Hopping back over to the dashboard, you can see we go into our custom post type for albums. There's our album title, tells us it's pending, and we can go in, and if we want to, we can edit this, preview it, whatever we want to do. There's the title of our album, there's our information, featured image is inserted, and also our custom information underneath. And if we open up the emails, we'll see exactly what comes through. So there's our custom email, hi admin, there's a new album awaiting your approval, then the album title, and that's dynamically inserted from the macros we saw. So now we've seen how to insert, we now need to go through a very quick process of creating a way of listing the albums and then also being able to edit and update those albums. So let's take a look at those options next. So let's start off with setting the format that allows us to actually edit any of our albums. So we're back into the form section now of JetEngine. We're going to add a new form in, and we're just going to call this edit album. Now this works in a very similar fashion, but there are a couple of steps that we need to be considerate of in the way that things work. We need to first of all have this to know exactly what post it is we want to edit. So there's a couple of little changes we need to do to the way this form works in comparison to how we insert new information in. So first of all, let's go into the post ID section. Because in the first example, and we sort of set that up to insert a new post, it didn't need to know anything to do with what post we were trying to update or edit because it was all new. So we need to change this a little bit. We can leave hidden, post ID, current post ID, all those things are perfectly fine. But we need to change this field value from current post ID and change this to be URL query variable. So we're going to choose that. And then we need to put a variable key in. So all we're going to do is we're going to use _post_ID. So this is just going to be the ID that passes over when we create the edit this album link button, whatever we use. That's going to pass over the query variable for the post ID. So _post_ID, that's it. We'll hit apply changes on there, and we've now edited the post ID to know exactly what post it is we're going to be editing. Next up, let's make the submit button a little bit more obvious what we're going to do. Let's edit that, and we're going to change that from submit to update and apply changes. Nothing else needs to be changed on there. Okay, so that's the basics of our form. We'll come back and deal with the post submission actions afterwards. We need to do the same as we did the first time and link all the different fields that we want to be able to edit. So let's add a couple more fields in. So first of all, we're going to need to add in for the thumbnail, the title, and finally for the actual description or the content. We'll come back to our custom fields in a moment. So let's just position these where we want them above the submit button, and let's edit these. So the first one we want to do is going to be for the actual thumbnail itself. Like we did the first time, we need to change this from type to come down, and we want to choose media as our option. Could change the field name again because this is one of the inbuilt fields to _thumb. Label, if you want to put a label in, you can do that. Required, we're going to uncheck that because this is to edit things. So as long as there's one in there, we don't need to worry. User access, we're going to say any registered user. Like we did before, if checked, we're going to check this, and the field value we're going to set to attachment ID. So this now knows that it's going to upload the file and insert the attachment ID information into the database. We can set the same values up inside here. So only one file, maximum of 5 megabytes, and whatever image formats you want to apply for this. Once we've done that and everything is set up inside there, we can just make sure that we just hit apply changes to commit those options. Next on our list is the actual post title itself. So let's edit this field, and we're going to do the same. Text is fine. Text is fine on there. This time we're just going to put in _post_title. And if you want to insert a label, you can do that inside here as well. Uncheck the required and just make sure everything is set up the way you need it to be. Now, obviously, you can tweak this to make sure it's exactly how you want it to be. Most important thing is to make sure you've got things like the post title, the right links in there. So we'll just put in a label, apply our changes on there. And our third and final option is going to be for the actual content or the description of the CD or the album that we're actually putting in. So same as we did first of all, WYSIWYG, field name _post_content. Label is going to be post content or album information, whatever you want to put in there. And we'll leave everything else set up as it is, and we'll just hit apply changes. Now we'll add those 2 extra fields in for our custom fields and drop those underneath. So we know the first one is going to be for artist. Text is fine. Just need to change this for artist. And we're just going to put album artist in the label. Required, we're going to uncheck that option and apply the changes on there. So you can see this is repetitive, but it's pretty quick to do. Just change this one, and we're going to call this one duration. Okay, and we'll uncheck the required and visibility for all, that's fine. Okay, so we've now set up our form, but there's one more thing we need to do, and that's to check this option that says preset form value or form field values. So this now has one key purpose, and that is to pull in the data from the post we're editing into the form fields. So the title, the thumbnail, all those things are going to be pre-populated because we're editing a post as opposed to creating a new one. Now, we need to do something that's important. If you don't do this, you can get yourself into a little bit of hot water because things are just not going to work. Source, post, that's fine, and there are some other options inside there, but we're going to leave that set to post. But we're going to say get post ID from. Now, current post, it doesn't know what the current post is. So we need to change that to URL query variable. You can see that pre-fills out the underscore post underscore ID for us, so we don't need to do anything there. So now this is just saying pre-fill these form fields out using the URL query variable from a post, and then pre-fill it out, pull that data from the database using the post ID as the indicator for this particular post. Hope that makes sense. So now we just need to map those fields. So post ID, we're going to change that, and it's going to be post ID. Thumbnail is going to be the post thumbnail. Oops. There we go. Let's lift this up. And then we've got post title, content, artist is going to be post meta, and artist is going to be filled out in there. And then duration is going to be post meta and duration in there. Now, if you're wondering where we get these values from, they're just basically the field names that we set up when we create our custom post type. So artist and duration. So again, I hope that makes sense. So now the first part of the form is done. We've created the fields that we want. We've set how they want to work. We've pulled in the information from our database using the query variable, and we've pre-populated each of those field entries. Now we need to go through and tell it what we want to do when we hit that submit button, like we did when we created a new post. So let's remove this option for send email and change that over to insert or update. So insert and update. Your post type in this example is going to be album. Your post status, we can set this up to be going back into draft or pending review, whatever we want. Or if you're comfortable, we can set it to keep current status. So we'll choose that option. And now we're going to map those fields again, because we're now mapping to where that data is going to be inserted into the database when we hit that update button. So post ID will update the post. So that's really important. We need to set that. And then we just need to do the same again. So your thumbnail, your post title, post content, the artist, so we know is going to be artist is the name of the custom field, and then post meta again, which is going to be the duration, which again is the name of the custom field. We've basically done what we need to do now. This is going to create that updated version and insert the data into the database for us. Now, once we've done that, we now need to do one more thing, which is going to be useful, which is going to redirect us to a page. So let's just close this down. We'll say apply those changes. I'm going to add another notification in. We're going to change this type into redirect to page. So redirect to page. Where do you want to redirect it to? We're going to say we want to go to a static page, and you can select the page you want to go to. So once it's updated, you could take it back to your account homepage. Or if you wanted to, you could say the custom URL or the current page. So we chose current page. Add a query argument to the redirect. So do you want to pull in the post ID and so on, which you would want to do? It's up to you how you want to deal with this. What we're going to do though is we're going to say this is going to go back to a static page, and we're going to set this back to our account page. Okay, so we're not going to pass any query variables or anything else. We're just going to say once someone's updated the album, they're going to go back to their accounts page. So now just make sure you hit the apply changes and you update or save the form. So that's now been done. We now need to create the template. So to do that, back to our templates, save templates, we're going to create a new one, and we're just going to set this to be a page. This is going to be edit album, and we'll create that template. Now I'm going to quickly go through the process. We're just going to add in our two columns, and we're just going to insert our form and our navigation. So we're going to just come back over to the left-hand side. We're going to come down until we find the profile menu. We'll drop that inside there, set it to vertical, and just apply the styling to it. And then we're going to do the same thing now as we did before, which is come down, choose our form, choose this to be edit, and we've got edit album, and set this to be Ajax. And all we need to do now is just hit publish on this section. Come back out of here, exit to our dashboard, and we're going to go back to Jet. And from our Jet menu, we need to come down to Profile Builder, because what we need to do now is insert this into the account section, into our Profile Builder section, but we don't want anyone to be able to see it. It just needs to be there so we can reference it. And I'll show you what I mean as we go through the process. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to account page. We're going to add a new subpage, and we're going to call this edit album. Slug is perfectly fine. The template, we're going to search for edit, and we're going to choose edit album from there. I'm going to select the option that says hide from menu. Choose that, and what that does is it means that the page is accessible, so we can still use it. We just don't see it in the dashboard, where it would make no sense whatsoever, because you'd click the edit and there'd be nothing to edit. So we'll hit save on there. Hop back over to our account page and we'll just refresh this and we'll see that that link doesn't show up, which is exactly what we want. So now we need to create a page that'll have a listing on it that'll show all of the albums, including an edit button. To do that, I'm going to come back into our dashboard and we're going to go this time into listings. And from there, we're going to create a new listing specifically just to show and allow us to edit the albums. So let's just create add new, and post is fine. We're going to change this then to albums for the from post type because it's our custom post type. And we're going to call this list albums. And we're going to use Elementor for this design purpose. So we'll say create listing, and then we can just build this out. Now we're going to keep this really, really simple. I'm just going to simply just drop in a simple layout. On the left-hand side, we're going to put the image of the album itself. On the right-hand side, the title and the edit button. So to do this, we're going to come down to our widgets for JetEngine. Again, we're going to go grab the dynamic image, drop that into the first area, and you can see post thumbnail is being pulled in, which is exactly what we want. If you don't see what you're expecting to see inside here, which you may not if you're working with a custom post type, you can simply come down to the settings option in the bottom left, come to the listing settings, and then set up what you want inside here for your listing source and from post source. And you can adjust your preview width and so on. So we're going to leave that as it is. We're going to come back to our widgets. We're going to scroll down until we get to our jet options again, and we're going to grab a dynamic field, and we're going to use this then for the title of our album. Now you can see this pulls in the data because it's intelligent enough to know that chances are you're going to want the title. But if you want to change that, you can adjust it from the source and from the object field. So we can choose from post term user object data, then metadata options and so on. And inside your object field, this will change depending upon what you choose as the source. But for this example, everything is exactly as we need it to be. Okay, so the next, third and final step for this is to add in the button that allows us to edit this particular post. So we're going to just come back to this and we're going to scroll down and we're going to grab a dynamic link widget. Going to put that underneath the title. And there we go. So it says read more, makes no sense. So let's just say edit album. Makes a lot more sense. And now we need to specify where this is going to go when you click it. So we need to make a couple of changes here. First thing you want to do is just specify where it's going to go. Now, permalink would just take us to the post. We couldn't edit it. We would just view the post, which would make no sense. So we're going to change that, and we're going to choose profile page because we need to send it to that profile page, the edit album template we just created, but we hid from our navigation. So we're just going to choose this, and we're going to say edit album. So we created the link now, but we need to tell that edit page what URL we want to work with. In other words, what post we want to edit. And this is where we took a look at sending the query URL. So we now need to send the argument or the query parameter via the URL. To do that, we enable add query arguments. So we'll select that, and that will give us this option underneath, which pre-fills out what it thinks is correct. In this example, it is exactly correct. The post ID, which you've used several times in this example, the _post_ID, is going to have this little section added to the end of it, which is one of the typical macros. If you've ever used anything to do with macros inside JetEngine, you're going to be familiar with these. And you can see there's a list of them above. But what this is basically saying is we're going to add this on to the URL, post ID equals the current ID. In other words, the current ID for this particular post that we're clicking on to go through to edit. Again, I hope that makes sense. It can be kind of confusing to start off with, but we're just literally building the URL parameter from this individual listing item. So with that in place, we've pretty much done what we need. We can style this and make it look more like a button if we want to. So let's just quickly do that, just so it makes a little bit more sense. We'll set this to white. We'll set the background color to be a solid, and we'll just use this blue like we've used before. And all we'll do is just add a little bit of padding around this. So we'll say top is going to have 5, bottom is going to have 5, left and right is going to have 10 each. So now it looks more like a button. And what we'll do is just to make it a little bit easier to see what's going on, we'll simply come over and we'll just specify this is going to be aligned to the right hand side. Okay, we'll hit update on this. So now we've created the listing, we've linked it through with the edit link, and we're coming to the end of what we need to do. So let's come back out of this, exit to our dashboard, and we're going to create one more template. So we're going to come back into our templates, into save templates, and we're going to add a new page template, and we'll just set this to be page, and we're going to give this a name of album listing. Create our template, and once we've done that, we're just going to drop in our listing. Scroll down until we get to our JetEngine widgets, drag our listing grid inside there. going to set this up. We're just going to do a search for list albums. There we go. And we're going to set this to be just one row. Okay, so you can set this to as many as you want. So let's just say we'll set it to 12. And if you want to, you can just put in any kind of sort of navigation around here, anything you want to do to make this in keeping and have all the functions you need. Hit publish on there. And now the final stage we need to do to get this working is to come over back into the profile builder inside JetEngine. And we're going to come to our account and we're going to add another subpage in. This time we're going to call this list albums. And then we just need to search for the template we just created, which was the album listing template. And there we go, album listing. And what we're going to do now is simply hit save on there. And that should be all done. So we can hop back over to our accounts page. And we're just going to refresh this, make sure everything is up to date. So there's our list albums. Going to click on there, and there's our album. We can click edit album, and now we can make any changes we want to that particular album. We want to add a new album in, we can add a new album in. So this is how you can create your own customized setups inside this dashboard. So you don't have to use it with the inbuilt functions you have as part of WordPress or to deal with just your actual profile. You can use this for anything you can create with JetEngine. There's so many options you can use with this. It's kind of crazy. Now we've covered a lot of ground in this video and it's quite easy to become confused with all the steps we need to cover to get everything set up correctly. So feel free to use the timestamps in the description if you want to go back over any of the sections of anything I've covered or you simply want to recap on the overall topic. Now, if you found this video useful, please do consider subscribing so you don't miss any of the future tutorials I release for Crocoblock. Now, all of the applicable links are included below. And if you have any comments, questions, or feedback, please pop those in the comments section. My name is Paul C. Until next time, take care.